Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Carla and Crappy Show. It is week 5 of the college football season. We're starting to figure out who teams are and what to expect from them. Carla, is that your experience as well?
Yeah, so much happened this week. We were talking just
Yeah.
before we hit the record button that there's so much to talk about between what happened last weekend and the potential for this weekend. Um, we could easily have talked about almost every game on the schedule this
Yeah.
week.
There
There's a
were,
storyline everywhere. So
yes,
like this is going to be a silly fun, dare I say stupid fun. Um,
stupid fun.
we get to borrow AJ's term. I think we're going to lean on that term a lot this week, because there is definitely a serious potential for stupid happening across
Mhm,
the board this weekend,
mhm.
and I am here for
Yes,
it.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, there are ulterior other factors involved with this. Week 5 games are rapidly approaching, as is a hurricane.
Yeah.
Of course, we are in no way suggesting making the equivalence that a disruption of college football schedules is comparable to real damage that it may cause on the Gulf Coast, and that is this is actually as we record on Tuesday, looking like it has a potential to be a pretty bad storm.
Yeah.
It's worth noting, though, impact on games, impact on schedules, perhaps. I know Florida State is playing on the road in Dallas. I also know that the storm's remnants are supposed to be about at East Lansing on by late in the day on Saturday, and that might have some bearing on my television watching.
Yes.
Um, so keep that in mind as we talk about games. Stuff could be rescheduled, called off, postponed. Weather games, rain games, we don't know, but there is a potential for that this weekend. So just let's get that out of the way. The other bit of news that we'll talk about before we get to the games is the Pac 6.5 or 7 now.
It's 7, yeah.
Utah State said this week that it's going to depart the Mountain West to join the Conference of Champions. That announcement came like within hours of Air Force saying it was staying put in the Mountain West, and Memphis, Tulane, South Florida, and MEEP, UTSA, all turned down the Pac, whatever it is, to stay in the AAC. Um, this gets to an interesting thing. I do what did Carla? What is your best guess about what happens next?
I mean,
Does someone renege on a promise and move out of the Mountain West? Do the Nevadas jump? What do you think?
the rumblings that I heard was that the Nevadas were not going to jump.
Okay.
Um, and I don't remember who I saw that from. It might have been it might have been Tamil.
Hmm.
I don't remember who originally reported it, but I did
Okay.
see that there were rumblings that Nevadas weren't interested, which is interesting.
Hmm.
Because as we talked last week, that seemed to be the most logical place
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do. I mean, Utah State kind of went back a little
Hmm.
bit, because it was like right after um the initial move over from the 4 Mountain West teams. Like the Mountain West put out a statement saying we are committed to keeping the rest of the Mountain West together, and then
Hmm.
like less than 12 hours later, Utah State was like, yeah, no thanks, bye.
Hmm.
And they were gone. So is there another Mountain West team that is just kind of like, and just not saying anything right now?
Right.
um I don't know where else they go from here. Um, it'll be really interesting to
Hmm.
see if someone decides to go against what they said, or, again, money is an issue here,
Yeah.
getting out of any sort of grant of rights deals and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I'm kind of sitting and waiting to hear what happens, but the Pac-12 needs one more team.
Yes.
Um,
They are required to do that within a couple years, I think.
yeah. Um, to at least be able to qualify for the playoff. Um, you have to have 8 teams to
Hmm.
qualify for the AQ for the playoff now. So yeah, they're desperate to find one more team,
Hmm.
and for everybody else's sake, I hope it's geographically relevant too. But that whittles your pool down quite a bit.
Boston
But it's
University
right.
joining the
Boston College
Pac-12.
leaving the ACC and going to, like, why not?
We've done this before.
And it would be just hilarious if you had Cal and Stanford going to the East Coast for games and some random East Coast team
Yeah.
coming all the way to the West. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Well, we know why we're doing this. It's money, but
Mhm.
like just absolutely ridiculous. So I don't know where they're going to go next. And it'll be real interesting to kind of see how this all shakes out from here. I
Mhm.
don't have a guess really at
Okay.
this.
Okay. I'm curious about and I don't know enough about the Mountain West to be able to say, like, is Air Force going to look at Utah State leaving and them saying that's our big rival, that's one of our big rivals we got to go to.
Yeah.
um I know we talked about on the show, the possibility of getting all three service academies together. That would be awesome.
Hmm.
But with Air Force saying no, we're staying. So I'm not sure. I think it's going to take. I think it's going to be a Mountain West team, and I think it's going to take someone reneging on a promise.
Right.
Maybe with the Pac-12 coming up with more money. I don't know. But that's going to be an interesting thing to watch as we move forward, because as you said, there's got to be one more. There's got to be one more, and relatively soon. So
Yep.
we will see what happens if the Pac-7 can get up to being the Pac-8, where they need to be sometime here in the near future.
And here's hoping they go back to
Yeah,
that name. That was their original name.
yeah, it was.
They were originally the Pac-8. It would be
Mhm.
really a lot of fun if they went back to the Pac-8 branding just because.
That would be really cool. But just for old folks like me who actually remember the Pac
Yep.
eight. Um, and now USC is playing conference games in the Big Ten. Very weird. It is
Everything is
very
weird.
Everything is weird. Um, as you mentioned as well, there were the storylines from last weekend were fantastic. I have a few notes about the stuff that I watched, in addition to my rooting interests. But I want to start with you, Carla, and see what you what do you what stood out for you from the games from last weekend.
Yeah, so much stuff. And let's start on Friday night with something weird.
Yes.
Where I get to say praise be in the year of our Lord 2024, the Stanford Postulate is alive and well.
Amen.
Um, cheers to that. Tree goes on the road and beats
Hmm.
Orange in the Dome.
Hmm.
And now Stanford has the possibility of doing the funniest thing and the dumbest thing ever.
And that would be.
This week, do you know who they play this week?
I saw it. Did they play in Miami?
They are at number 17 Clemson.
They're at Clemson. Oh, that'd be
Oh,
fun.
we have the
Wow.
possibility of a Stanford postulate and a Clemsoning situation
All in one game.
converging.
All in one game. That's okay. Now I've added another game to my list that I have to watch
Exactly.
on
That game's
Saturday.
at 7 on ESPN.
Oh, what is
Um,
7? Good Lord.
I
I
know
need like
everything's on
12
in the evening.
TVs. It's 7 o'clock.
We need the Ocho box to
I
be able
gotta
to get through the
charge
prime time.
iPads and old iPhones and stuff.
Yeah.
Man. Okay.
But yeah, Tree, I love you. Please do the dang thing. That would be hilarious. Um, not so hilarious for my rooting interests. Also on Friday night,
Huh?
Bert decides to go do Bert things, and Illinois beats Nebraska in overtime.
That's a fun game.
Um, the Huskers just completely fell apart in
Mhm.
overtime and for a good chunk of that second half. And now suddenly I have to worry about the Illini.
Yes.
So we'll get to that.
We certainly will.
But I was not thrilled about that outcome. Um, Also on the funny index, Navy beats Memphis, which gets us to maybe our first really fun transitive property of college football
Mhm.
of the season,
Mhm.
which is Navy over Memphis over Florida State.
Yep.
So that's fun. Um, and I get to say it for 2 weeks in a row. Oh, Vandy.
Oh, that game was a killer. It was a
Yes.
killer. Just get a kicker.
Yeah, it was, Vandy was a college kicker situation away from the second dumb thing of the weekend, which would
Mhm.
would have been losing on the road at Georgia State and then in the consecutive week beating a top 10 Missouri team.
Mhm.
Um, but oh man, so close and just get
Uh,
so far on
oh,
that. Uh,
that was Vandy's got to go get back in touch with the Vanderbilt women's soccer team and
yes.
go find you another kicker, guys. The season is not lost. Even though it
Kind of is.
probably is. But man, that's just a killer. That was just a killer
Yeah,
game.
that was a killer game. Um, some other fun things that
Mhm.
happened. Hello, Jimmy Madison. Um,
Right.
beating the absolute brakes off of North Carolina 70-50 and put up a cool 53 in the first half
Hmm.
alone.
Hmm.
Um, I love everything about that game. And Jimmy Madison's close second cousin or whatever in the college football sphere would be my Bobby Moe
Hmm.
wearing their new gear. They actually made shirts to
Nice.
say Bobby Moe on them now, which I absolutely love. Um, it's about dang time.
Uh-huh.
But kudos, and I have to say this, obviously lower off the radar of all of
Hmm.
our agendas here, but Bobby Moe being AJ and my alma mater, won their first NEC game after returning to the conference after leaving for the Big South in 2020. So they've been in the Big
Okay.
South. This is their first season back in the NEC, which is where they were when AJ and I went to school.
Hmm.
And they went up to Staten Island and beat Wagner. And if you know anything about the old NEC, Wagner was like the game of
Okay.
the year. And so having that be your first welcome back to the conference,
Nice.
winning that game by 7 on the road at their place,
Hmm.
big deal.
Hmm.
So cheers to you, Bobby Mo. Welcome back to the NEC. I'm very happy to see that. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg, right?
Hmm.
Like there's so much other
Yes.
stuff from this weekend.
Oof.
Tennessee wins in Norman, but
Hmm.
it wasn't the offensive display we expected from Nico.
No.
Um, and now we have a quarterback controversy for the Sooners.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so that'll be interesting to watch moving forward. Team Up North beats SC.
Hmm.
Um, did you see how many? You probably know this. How many yards passing did they have?
Uh, it, did they have more than 100 yards passing? I don't think
No,
they
not
did.
even
I don't think they
close.
were even close.
No, 32.
32. Okay.
They win the game with 32 yards passing,
Hmm.
which means that they have a bigger problem, which is that they don't have a quarterback. So we're starting to see a theme here, right?
Hmm.
And this is actually a theme that we sorted out for several teams. It's like, oh, you really don't have a quarterback. So we
Yes.
figured that out from Oklahoma. We figured that out with Michigan.
Hmm.
And we also figured that out with, um, is it Oklahoma State? No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oklahoma State.
Okay.
Um, Oklahoma State lost to Utah.
Narrowly lost to Utah.
Um, and Alan Bowman, who's at like nearly 1,200 yards on the season
Hmm.
already, for whatever reason, Venables benched him in the second half to start the second half
Hmm.
because like he just wasn't producing, he wasn't having a good game, and so they put in the second string. And so now you have a quarterback controversy with what was presumably a pretty okay quarterback um in Stillwater. So,
Hmm.
and God, the Utes didn't give up the ball. They held the ball for
Yeah.
42
That
minutes in
was
that game.
a beautiful display of Big Ten football.
It was,
Is what that was.
which is why they should be in the Big Ten instead of the Big 12. So like, and again, we're just tipping the iceberg here, but like
Hmm.
it was good storylines top to bottom the entire weekend.
Hmm. Hmm. I no, I agree. To touch on a couple games that you mentioned, I paid a lot of attention to Michigan USC. The novelty of that being a conference game is kind of fun and will wear off at some point, I assume. Um, Basically, if SC could tackle,
Yep.
Michigan would have its second loss of the season already, which it's super frustrating. Um, I don't know what to think about Michigan's offense. They're hamstrung a little bit on Saturday because what's his name, Loveland, the tight end, did not play. Um, and that's presumably a target that Orgy feels comfortable throwing to, and it's a nice safety valve. He definitely did not have anyone else that he wanted to deal with, because this was like the Michigan Penn State game last year.
It
They
was.
just did not throw the football. And I was ready to give Michigan credit about a defensive play, but in the second half, they let SC back in the game. They let SC back on top of the game.
Hmm.
And if the Trojans had been just a little more physical, with Michigan's tailback on that last drive,
Yep.
They could have shut the Wolverines down again, like they had been doing that whole half. Um, if Michigan, I assume Orgy's going to get better. I don't know what his ceiling is, and as it stands right now, for sure, if Michigan gets into a situation where they need to score a whole bunch in a hurry, they're screwed because
Hmm.
they cannot do it. Um, Tennessee, I have been curious about Tennessee all season. This is the first chance I got to see them against an actual opponent. They made Oklahoma's starting quarterback, and I did not write down the guy's names. Um, Made him look awful in the first half of that game. I thought Oklahoma's offense may be better off with the second quarterback, the kid who came in after halftime. Um, that's not the point of my observation. The point of my observation is I don't see a lot of weaknesses with Tennessee. It was a fantastic defensive performance.
Yeah.
And that is not the Vols reputation. Um, but the other thing was, I mean, the Vols reputation is throwing the football, explosive downfield plays. And they had those, but they concentrated on running the football. And that looks like an excellent defense. It looks like an offense that can come at you in a couple different ways. Um, and I mean, they have both Alabama and Tennessee on the schedule, but the rest of their SEC, the rest of their league schedule is, there's no LSU. Um,
Hmm.
they don't really play games against any of the big boys in the SEC. Um, they're going to be in an interesting position. I think Alabama's in 3 weeks for them. And that's the next chance I think we really have to find out more about them. But for right now, man, they looked fantastic.
Hmm.
OU, got smoked at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Oh man, I actually stopped watching that at halftime. The Syracuse game, the season opener, they were the Bobcats were in that game until the third quarter. This time, nah, they were not. And my Buckeyes, just a couple things. Improving run game with fantastic blocking downfield. That's how Quinshon Judkins, gets over 150 yards rushing in a game. It's not just the line; it is everybody jumping in with that stuff. So the run game looked fantastic. Will Howard made his literally his first mistake, visible mistake of the season. Underthrew a ball that was picked off, but looked solid through the whole thing.
Hmm.
Um, there are the explosive plays that we've kind of been waiting on. They happened. So that was nice. Um, Defense was shaky on Saturday, at least in the first half. Tightened up after halftime. I am liking where this team is, and obviously I'll be paying attention when they open their conference schedule on Saturday. But from right now, I am as happy with Chip Kelly's offense as I thought I would be. So yeah, we've been through a month of the football season.
Hmm.
Um, you and I have watched our teams and kind of how they've progressed. We've seen a lot of stuff from other teams. Um, so here's where I put you on the spot.
Okay.
What would be your top five overall after 1 month of the season?
Hmm. I think the best overall team that I have seen
Mm-hmm.
right now, heading into the second month of the season, is
Mm-hmm.
Texas.
Okay.
I think right now they are the number one team in the country. I think that's where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen enough out of Ohio State yet to be able to determine like where they all shake out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to start seeing that this week.
Yes, we will.
Ohio State's definitely in my top five.
Okay.
Um, I also think at least until the end of this week, um, you probably have to keep both Georgia and Alabama there too.
for just a few more days.
for just a few more days because we got to figure out like that's going to sort itself out on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would put Tennessee up there.
Okay.
I think Tennessee is right up there. Um, I don't know how I would order all of those, and gosh, that's a stupid heavy SEC schedule or SEC
It
top
is.
five.
It is.
Um,
And it's like it's a stupid. The AP poll is a stupid SEC heavy top 10.
yeah.
But
But the Big Ten
it is
hasn't
what
really
it
gotten
is.
into conference play yet, and
Right.
I think once we
Right.
start figuring out who's for real in the Big Ten, like okay, so SC showed promise.
Hmm.
Are they really as good as we think they might be? Same questions we have about Oregon,
Hmm.
right? So like there's still some questions that need to be
Yeah.
answered.
Yeah.
In the Big Ten, there are fewer questions I think that need to be answered in the
Hmm.
SEC, and I think that's why we're seeing that right now.
Yeah.
But it's going to even itself out.
Hmm.
Michigan ain't it this year. So they're not close to my top 10 at this point.
Hmm.
I don't know. I need Penn State to actually beat somebody
Hmm.
before
Hmm.
I'm willing to move them up into a top five. Um,
We're gonna find out about that
we're
in a
gonna
few
find
days as
out
well.
that this weekend too. Um, so yeah, there's still a lot of and out of the big. I don't know if anybody in the Big 12 right now. Utah's hanging there,
Hmm.
but I don't think they're a top five team. Um, yeah, I think and
Okay.
and the ACC ain't it either.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just kind of like washing out that entire
Yeah.
conference
I mean,
because
someone's gonna get the automatic bid, but
yeah,
um, they're the lesser of equals.
yeah.
I obviously I knew this was coming, and I had an opportunity to actually put these teams in order. But you and I came up with the same teams. I have Alabama 5, Georgia at 4. I have Ohio State at 3. And there's probably a little homer in there, but not a ton.
Yep.
Um, I don't think we would go into Lexington and have struggle to beat Kentucky by a point or whatever. I have Tennessee at 2 and Texas number 1.
Hmm.
I am that impressed with Tennessee. We'll find out if if that impression is holds up for the season. Now, this is not a poll, but it should be. It should be.
Hmm.
What would be your top 5 group of 5 teams so far?
Ooh.
Feel free to
Hmm.
open those ESPN windows back up on your
Yeah, I was gonna say,
if you
let
need
me.
to.
Yeah.
I needed help to look for to look up this one. There are a few that are obvious, but I have interesting thoughts about the whole top 5.
I mean, unfortunately, you probably got to put Liberty there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jimmy Madison. I
Got it.
think that's a huge win,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly I think they've like raced to the top of like Sunbelt expectations when I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was going to be Appy State, and Appy State
Just
in it
not the
this
year.
year.
Not the year.
Um, and Coastal got the brakes beat off of them this weekend by Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in the CUSA, it's probably Liberty, Western Kentucky, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Okay.
Um, we'll see what they're made of this weekend. They've got a good game this weekend coming up. Um, who do we got in the MAC? Toledo?
Toledo has been the powerhouse for the past several years, but losing at Western
Yeah, that's
kind
true.
of
Western
takes
won
him
this
out.
week.
Miami was picked to be a favorite to win the conference, and they haven't won a game yet.
Yeah.
Granted, tough schedule, but yeah, 0 and
Oh,
3 is 0 and 3.
Boise.
Yes,
Duh.
yes.
Yeah, we forget about Boise because they feel like they belong in the Power Four
Hmm.
already.
Yeah,
Right? But yeah.
that's true.
Um, and who lost to Wazoo this week? Is that San Jose State? They're looking real good too.
Hmm.
So I might have them up there
Okay.
as well. But yeah,
Hmm.
I would need to risk crashing my computer to dig a little bit more into that to see.
That's a good list. And especially you get extra credit for pulling that with out the help of visual aids or any other help like that. Western Kentucky does plays at Boston College
Yes, that's a
at
huge game this
noon
week.
on. That's going to be fun.
Hmm.
I think Western's really good. I have them at number 5. I have Liberty at number 4. As we talked about in the preseason, we're just like, yeah, it's gonna be
Somebody beat
Liberty.
him, please.
Please. I have Navy.
Yeah. Hmm.
I have Navy number 3 at this point. Um, I viewers, listeners, understand my military affiliation. And Army's actually a little bit better statistically than Navy is so far. They're both 3-0. And Army has a streak. Could win its third game against Owls this weekend when they play Temple. But I think Navy's got the better wins this season so far. So yeah, we'll put Navy there.
Okay.
James Madison, out of nowhere, boom, destroying North Carolina. Holy crap! And then Boise.
Yeah.
And Boise's sitting in the top 25 at number 25 this week. So yeah, we those are both good lists. And yeah, and maybe Liberty is like the Notre Dame of
Yep.
the group of 5, and someone just beat them. Someone please just
And
beat
it
them.
pains me to like root for Western, but it looks like when you look at their schedule, like that's the best hope.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
would like to think that Middle will take care of them when they come to Murfreesboro the first weekend in November.
That'd be cool.
Um, but Middle's got some work to do.
A little bit, yeah, but maybe by then, maybe by then. Are
Maybe
they
by then.
is a Conference USA doing the midweek action thing in
Yes.
October this time again? Okay.
Yes, that starts in October.
Hmm.
And so Middle's next home game is actually on a Tuesday night. It's
Okay.
Tuesday, the 15th of October. They play Kennesaw. Welcome to the
Oh, nice.
that'll be
Okay.
a lot of fun. Because that's actually a drivable game.
Hmm.
So I would anticipate, and we have quite a few Kennesaw alum that live in the Middle Tennessee area. So that should actually be a pretty good atmosphere. The challenge with that game is that it falls at the very end of fall break for us.
Ah,
Um, and so the students will just be arriving back on campus. Classes resume on Wednesday.
okay.
So whether or not we get a good student section, a good Blue Zoo, students, if you're listening, go to that game.
Carla
Go
will
to
give
that.
you Carla will give you extra credit if you go. Am I allowed to do that? Can I?
I don't know if
No.
I'm technically allowed to do that, but we
Okay.
we can figure something out.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Good.
but no, go to that game because that's going to be a lot of fun. And I believe that's a CBS Sports. That's a Network of Champions game,
The
I
Network
think.
of Champions.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'll be fun.
Um, so yeah, the midweek we will start getting midweek football in within the next week.
Okay.
That we'll start getting Q-section as we've been affectionately calling it.
Hughes action is uh, it's okay. I can understand.
It
But
doesn't quite roll off the tongue,
no,
but
it
you
does
get
not.
the idea.
Not as consequential as games in November, but midweek football is always better than
Not.
um cornhole tournaments or whatever. Just
Yes.
let's not do that. Um, or you guys could watch Division 3 football. I did not realize until now that Carnegie Mellon games are streamed on the internet, so I'm able to watch them. I may not do that this weekend. I'm going to be fairly confident that the Tartans will continue the start that they've gotten into at the outset of the season. They are now ranked number 11 in the country
Nice.
after beating Bethany 66-0 at a game in Pittsburgh on Saturday night. The player of the game, running back Trey Vasiladis, I believe is how that's pronounced. 18 carries, 167 yards, and a touchdown. Next up for the Tartans at Washington and Jefferson, which is sitting just outside the D3 top 25. That is on Saturday afternoon. First road game since the season opened. And we are counting down. We are counting down to October 12th for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that it's my birthday, nor the least of which is that's when Ohio State plays at Oregon. But also, that's when Carnegie Mellon plays Grove City,
Grove City. Yep.
which will be ostensibly the league championship. So that's coming. Watch D3 football. It's fun. And the Tartans are rocking and rolling so far. It's a shame that AJ couldn't join us this week. I would love to hear his answer for the group of top five. But we have
Yeah.
AJ, and you guys have gotten accustomed this season to see AJ's face moving and speaking with us. this rather than just the static picture as he talks. Um, he's unable to actually be to record with us. But he recorded a video group of five after dark. And at Carla, as you and I have been saying, the schedule this weekend is just fantastic.
Yes.
I have not watched this clip yet. I assume it's going to be um, as thorough, as thoughtful, um, as AJ always is. Is AJ thoughtful? Is that, do you think, thoughtful?
He's definitely, yeah,
Thorough.
yes, thorough, very thorough,
Okay. Yeah, demure. He's very demure and
very
whatever,
mindful.
mindful. Yeah. Anyway, AJ, what is coming up in the group of five this weekend?
Hello, everyone. It is this week's Group of Five After Dark Report, and we have something special for you. Number one, video. It's my face. But number two, we have a very stupid week of football coming up. Now, we're starting to get to that point of the season, right? We're a third of the way through. We got teams that are 4-0, right? We're a third of the way through the season, which is crazy to say, but we're starting to figure out who teams are and who they're not. And Vegas is still figuring some things out. So we're going to talk through some weird things that we're going to see here. What I want to start with, though, is on Friday night, we have another great Friday night slate. Last week, we told you that, hey, Syracuse and Stanford was going to be good. And we told you that, who else was playing on Friday night? I'm blanking now. But we told you the Friday night slate was going to be great. And it was. It was fantastic. You could actually go side by side and have a properly good college football Friday night. So we have more there. So we have Virginia Tech going to Miami. This game is in Miami. Miami's favored by 19. The fun index is 54.5. There's not a ton really to say there. Miami looks really, really, really good. They are not doing the things that previous Miami teams had done. They went to USF, and USF did not, like, they tried. USF brought a real, honest to goodness home game atmosphere to that game, and Miami was having none of it and just ran them over. It is something special right now to see what Miami is doing. The U is kind of back, I regret to inform everyone. And Virginia Tech is just not where Virginia Tech wants to be. They're 2-2. They did not look good in those two losses, and that's why Miami's favored by 19. Give me the Hurricanes. Speaking of hurricanes, I do hope that everyone who is in the path of Hurricane Helen is safe. If by the time you're listening to this, if this is affecting you, I hope that you're safe and secure. But this is also going to have some effect on some games this weekend. The Florida A&M FAMU game was moved already, so you may see some other games move in terms of schedule. So if you hear me say a game and then you find out later on that the actual date was moved, it's because I'm recording this on Tuesday. I do want to pick on, though, on Friday night, we have at 8 p.m., we have Washington at Rutgers. We have our first true cross-country. USC to Michigan was pretty close, but Washington to Rutgers is about as far point to point as you're going to get in the Big Ten. I think UCLA to Rutgers is actually just a smidge closer. This is on Friday night. Rutgers is favored by 2.5, and I think a lot of that has to do with this being a game where Washington is having to go across the country. And no matter what we really want to say about this and how good or bad it is for the sport, this is where it's going to be. I think Rutgers gets a win here, and they go 4-0 in, like, overall, and they look good. They start their Big Ten campaign 1-0. They have true home field advantage here. The other team is coming from the literal opposite side of the country. I think this is big for them, and I think Rutgers gets a little bit of a statement win, and maybe we get a little bit of hand-wringing about whether or not the Pac-12 teams really fit inside of the Big Ten, whatever. They do. It's fine. We're going to go to noon on Saturday, and Carla and Crap, you're going to talk about a different game at that time slot. I'm going to talk about number 22 BYU going to Baylor, and the main reason for that is, number one, Baylor, it's a Hail Mary, and what you have to do is go to the end zone and knock the ball down, not play it as if it's a regular pass play with routes. Okay? Number one. Number two, BYU beat the brakes off of Kansas State. Like, it wasn't even close. They had a huge punt return. They scored like 21 points in 30 seconds in the middle of the game, that basically at the end of the first half, start of the second half. And really just kind of took Kansas State completely out of the game. Baylor, for some reason, is favored by 3. I don't understand that line in the slightest. Fun index is 45.5. I don't understand that line. There has to be something at play here because BYU played really, really well and Baylor played like absolute crap last week. Maybe it's because it's a Baylor home game and BYU's got to travel, but something ain't right here. I truly don't know what to make of this game. I'm going to take BYU because I think they're a better team. They're 4-0 and they're a very, very good football team, but something's not right there. Also at noon, on the ACC network, we have Western Kentucky and Boston College. Western Kentucky has one loss, and it's because they got their pants kicked off, butts kicked in by Alabama, and that's it. Other than that, they've looked great. Boston College is 3-1, and their lone loss was honestly not a terrible loss either. So this could be a lot closer than the spread looks. The Boston College is favored by 12.5. Fun index is 55.5. I think Western Kentucky goes in and makes this closer. I still think Boston College wins. Give me the Eagles to win. But I think Western Kentucky keeps that a lot closer. We're going to keep on rolling down because at 3:30 p.m. on ABC, this is the nationally televised game, Oklahoma goes to Auburn. Auburn, you're in danger. You are in deep, deep danger. Tennessee made Oklahoma look super pedestrian in the first half. And it wasn't until Jackson Arnold, who was the starting quarterback for Auburn, got benched, and they brought in Andrew Hawkins to come in afterwards, terrified the Tennessee defense. Tennessee's defense had a plan for the entire Oklahoma offense until Hawkins hit the field. He is a freshman. He is a scrambler. He is going to make plays happen. Auburn does not have the defense. OU is favored by 2.5. The fun index is 45.5. I think Auburn takes another embarrassing loss at home. Like Oklahoma wins by quite a bit, and there's going to be some boosters asking about whether or not hiring Hugh Freeze to beat a coach that's not at Alabama anymore was really truly a good idea. Also at 3:30 on ESPN, we have one of the stupidest games of the year every single year. We have Arkansas and Texas A&M. This is being played in Jerry World because Jerry Jones said, "I want a home game." He is a donor to Texas A&M. He is an Arkansas grad, so he basically puts this as his own home game. It's very, very stupid that he does this. It was very interesting to see Arkansas just decide, no, we're just going to run Auburn over. They just decided, like, all the dink and dunk passes that they were trying to do just weren't really working, and they just said, screw it, we're going to mow them. And they did. Taylor Green actually jump kicked a dude in the face. It was crazy. Texas A&M's 3-1. Their only loss is to Notre Dame. That Notre Dame loss looks a little bit more suspect as the days go on, but Texas A&M has rebounded. They've looked good. They did have they had to pull away late last week in order to get a W against a G5 team, I believe. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. But hey, this game always is stupid. Arkansas lost this game on kicking a ball over the top of an upright once. So just, kind of keep that one out there. Also at 3:30 on Fox, we have Colorado UCF. Colorado's going all the way across the UCF. UCF's real good. They actually have a very good football team and a legitimate defense, which means UCF is favored by 14.5, and I expect them to cover. Colorado is just going to try and outscore the other team, and that's it. They do not have a good defense of which to speak, and this is where it really comes into play. Give me UCF. Give me the Golden Knights. It's not even going to be close. At 3:30 on FS1 at Allegiant Stadium, this is a 12:30 kickoff locally. We got Fresno State and UNLV, future Pac-12 team, Fresno State, possible Pac-12 team, UNLV. This is a 3-1 versus 3-0 matchup. UNLV is favored by 4. Fun index is 50.5. This game is going to be good. I need you to put a screen on this at least. All right, this should be in your quad box somewhere. This is a very, very good game. I want you to keep an eye on this game. Mikey Keene is the proper Mountain West quarterback that you need in your life. He has 1,000 yards. He's thrown 6 touchdowns and 4 picks, right? He's just going to do something stupid. And the quarterback for UNLV, Matt Sluka, has 253 yards. They literally call him Crazy Legs. He's a Holy Cross transfer, I believe. These guys are both really, really fun. The fun index in this is a 50.5, and I'm surprised it's that low. This should be a very, very good game. Put your eyeballs on this. Also, in some brief realignment news, Utah State said they'll come over to the Pac-12, so now the Mountain West is at 7 and the Pac-12 is at 7, which means neither one of those are effectively football conferences. Isn't realignment great? We did it. 3:30 on ESPNU. Georgia Southern, Georgia State. This is a sneaky, sneaky little rivalry that no one knows about. This is the battle for the real GSU. Georgia Southern is a traditional FCS. They were an FCS power. They came to FBS. They played really well. They were beating up people at the FBS level too. Georgia State's program is younger than Bluey, I think. It is a truly young program, and yet somehow they have the upper hand in the rivalry. I think it's like 6-3 in terms of Georgia State wins. For some reason, Georgia Southern does not know what to do with Georgia State. I don't understand it. Georgia State gets up for this game. Georgia Southern really hates this game, so it's a great rivalry. Georgia State's favored by 3.5. Fun index is 58.5. Just, kind of keep an eye on this scoreboard here for this one, because that should be very, very silly. 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus. UL Monroe, Louisiana Monroe plays at Troy. Troy's favored by 7. Monroe's 2-1. And I don't know if you guys know this, because this is some real degenerate stuff. But Monroe was not. Their over/under for wins was 2.5, which means they are capable of hitting the over at any point now. So we are looking to see if we can get to 3-win Monroe. I don't expect them to go bowling. I don't expect them to do that well. But if they can hit 3 wins in their in Brian Vincent's first season as head coach, that should be something extra, extra special to keep in mind. Georgia's playing Alabama. Weird. Speaking of stupid games, Florida State has to go to Dallas to play SMU. I believe this is Florida State's first away game since the Ireland game. They barely beat Cal last week. This is not good for Mike Norvell. They can't fire him. His buyout is stupid. He's got a Jimbo-esque buyout of like $65 million. Florida State ain't got the cash for that. SMU is 3-1, but they are a gross 3-1. They are not the pew offense that you think they are. The fun index on this game is 48.5. This game is going to be gross and potentially very stupid. And if SMU goes to 4-1 and Florida State is 1-4, and it's SMU's first season in the ACC, there will be many giggles from my side. Finally, we have what I'm calling a proper Pac-12 After Dark slate. It starts at 10 p.m. on FS1. We have Washington State at Boise State. Carla and Crappy are going to talk about this game too. Boise's favored by 7.5. This is on the blue turf. These are future Pac-12 foes. This is currently a Pac-12 Washington State and a Mountain West Boise State. The Fun index is a truly fun 64.5. So if you would like to see the point number go up, that should be tremendous. You have Ashton Jeanty and his 9 touchdowns on 56 carries against John Mateer's 11 touchdowns and 1,100 yards. This game is going to be the dumbest thing possible. So please insert it directly into your eyeballs, apply directly to the forehead if you would like to have a good time on Saturday night. I expect Boise State to win. I think Washington State is very, very fun, but it's going to come down to, can they stop Boise State's running attack? Ashton Jeanty is in my opinion, Heisman-level potential candidate right now. It's going to be hard for him to not be on that ballot. So can Washington State slow him down? That's debatable. At 7:15 p.m. on ESPN, we have Arizona playing Utah. This is a conference game. It's just not the conference we want it to be. Arizona going to Utah. Utah's favored by 11. Fun index is 48.5. After the first week where Taro and McMillan and Noah Fafita looked like they were just going to be throwing the ball like crazy and it was just going to be, a high-scoring offense at all times, that has actually not come to pass. Taro and McMillan has 4 touchdowns on the year. All of them were in the first game of the season. All of the defenses have keyed in on the fact that Noah Fifita wants to throw the ball to him. That's it. That's the offense. So I expect Utah to key in on that. They have a very, very good defense. They're number 10 in the country for a reason. And they're going to grind this game into a fine pace. Cameron Rising last week did play a little bit. They did end up bringing in the backup quarterback, who's a 4-star, and I don't know how I feel about Utah having a 4-star quarterback. That implies that he didn't work his way up from being like a lowly 3-star that no one wanted. He's breaking the narratives. Okay, that's what I'm saying. He's like good, regular good. Give me Utah to win by quite a bit here, but that should be a lovely thing to put in your face at 10:15 p.m. on ESPN. And finally, kicking off at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, proper Pac-12/Big Ten After Dark on Fox. We have number 8 Oregon going to UCLA. Oregon's favored by 24. UCLA is not it yet. Deshaun Foster, I think, is going to do really, really good things there. I truly think he needs time to get it rolling, right? It's his first season. This is his first head coaching job ever. He is an alumnus of UCLA, so that's why he got this job, and the players truly love him, but I think it's going to take him some time to get everything up and rolling. And Oregon is Oregon, right? They are still a very, very good football team. They show that they can, grind it out with Boise State. They can deal with, the back and forth punches. But I expect Oregon to come in and win handily. That is at 11 p.m. on Fox. Oregon favored by 24. Give me the Ducks to win there. Fun index is 55.5. There's a lot of stupid on the schedule this week, okay? I need you to pay attention. Just scoreboard surf. Next week, though. Next week has something extra special on the stupid menu, and it's Miami going to Berkeley. But we'll talk about that next week. That has been this week's Group of 5 After Dark Report. We will see you next time. Back to you, Carla and Crappy.
Thank you once again, Dr. Kuftick, for your insights. This weekend's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts for the games that Carla, that you and I are talking about.
Yeah.
Even the big boy games are showing a lot of promise. We begin at noon. We get to keep our clothes on, though, not big nude, on ESPN. Number 20, Oklahoma State at number 23, Kansas State. K-State is favored by 4.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is respectable 55.5. I'm not. What happens here? Both of these teams are coming off coming off losses. One of them really bad loss. Actually.
Yeah. That's my first note is which team responds here, because very different situations, but very bad situations for both teams, right? Mm-hmm. So K-State goes on the road and just got dismantled by BYU. That was one of those games that was a bit of a head scratcher. You're like, what happened? Yeah. What happened? Was it the altitude? Well, I mean, we know that that's a difficult place to play at night, mm-hmm. But yeah, it just was completely unexpected. The fact that I kind of turned that game off. I mean, I was going to bed anyway, but turning that game off at halftime, not even worried about how that was going to finish, and meanwhile, you have an Oklahoma State team that mounted a furious comeback. And so you could think that okay, maybe we'll take some momentum from that into this game. But the challenge there was, Venables has created a quarterback controversy now. Mm-hmm. And so you have kind of some internal chaos happening within that team versus just the absolute, throttling that K-State. So, okay, who's going to show up to play this game? Right. It's, K-State is much better defensively between these two teams. And I think that's going to play a role in this game. But the challenge is they struggle in defending the pass. They don't have a great secondary. And Oklahoma State, whoever their quarterback is, likes to generally rely pass first, run second, right? Mm-hmm. And so if Bowman doesn't get into a rut, and he plays the whole game, the K-State defense is going to have its work cut out for it on Saturday at home. And up until I dug into things more deeply here, I actually think I probably would have picked Oklahoma State in this game, even though I generally like defenses better. But I don't like the matchup there, but
Hmm.
because we now have the controversy internally here, I'm going to give the edge, I think, to K-State at home.
Hmm.
Um, just because I feel like even though they got beat, they're still a team,
Hmm.
right? And I think that plays a role here. I really
Hmm.
do. I think that coming off of a loss, who is your more confirmed team? And right now, I have to say that it's K-State. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to say this game's going to be real close. Um, but I'm going to change my pick
Ah,
and go with K-State
okay.
and over the Pokes here at home on the road or at
Okay.
home in Little Manhattan.
At home on the road. Yeah. Well, it would be on the road for us because we
It
don't
would
live
be.
there. I think you said you were talking about and I can see why you did this. I think you said Brett Venables as a quarterback controversy when you meant Mike Gundy, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they both do.
They both do.
It's um, if you want to play
I'm
quarterback,
tired.
get yourself to the state of Oklahoma. You might have opportunities. Um,
Help wanted at quarterback, all schools in Oklahoma.
uh just to get some kid from Tulsa to come play at one place or the
Well, I'm
other.
actually going to mention Tulsa later. It's really funny that you said that. Okay.
Ah, okay,
That's
okay.
foreshadowing.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, so as you said, both teams coming off a loss. The Cowboys game was closer, but they come out with uncertainty about the quarterback. K-State, that's just so bad. I mean, you can't write it off in the standings, and that's something you have to deal with. But you almost look at that game as just kind of an outlier. You got steamrolled, and it happens sometimes. It's really tempting to go with Oklahoma State. I think they have better wins on the season. They certainly have a better loss, if that's a thing, to the team that will probably end up as a conference champion. I think, though, the Wildcats are the team that's going to bounce back better from last weekend. They're at home. Um, I, I I think they have a good opportunity to kind of restore what Utah does. They play a lot of physical football. They have solid defense. They can possess the ball and speed up the game. Um, and if especially if they can do that and keep it out of the hands of whoever's going to be playing quarterback for Oklahoma State. I think K State's going to win this one at home. And this game, either way, this game has promise. This would be
Hmm.
this would be one to watch for sure. In that first slot at
Yeah.
3:30 p.m. on Peacock. Couple big teams playing their games exclusively on streaming platforms this weekend. I referenced that last weekend, and I think we have a solution for my parents, which is going to work out just fine. Anyway, anyway, number 15, Louisville at number 16, Notre Dame. ND is favored by 4.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a not so fun 47.5. What do you think about this one?
Hammer the under.
Yeah, yeah,
Hammer
yeah.
the under on this one. Um, no, I gotta make up with it with this preview because I botched the last one. So okay, here we go.
Okay.
I would say that the Cards haven't played anyone yet this
Hmm.
season,
Hmm.
but they did just beat Georgia Tech last weekend,
Right.
and that's the team that beat Florida State in week 0. So maybe they're better than we think, but this is we really don't know.
Hmm.
You know what this Louisville team is. The Irish, on the other hand, responded emphatically after getting beat by NIU. Um, against Purdue. And then they beat Miami of Ohio last weekend, but maybe it wasn't quite as dominant as we would have expected. Um,
I agree. I defensively, yeah. But that was not the beatdown I was kind of expecting.
it's it's kind of baffling because like when you looked at the portal moves that they made and they bring in Riley Leonard and like Riley Leonard was a solid quarterback at
Mhm.
Duke and he's just not. I don't know whether he's just not gelling or what's happening there, but the offense, you're right, the Notre Dame offense just isn't what sans the outlier against Purdue. They
Mhm.
aren't putting up the numbers that we're used to seeing out of a Notre Dame offense. That's really interesting. um this game is in South Bend, and there's the added wrinkle of the aforementioned hurricane that's going to be directly over East Lansing, probably in the evening. Well, this game's at 3:30, so guess
Mhm.
where it's going to be?
Yes.
Pretty much directly over South Bend, if
Yes.
the forecast holds is the way that we expect it to at this point. So when that kind of thing happens, you immediately have to look to which team is going to perform better in the slop, which
Mhm.
team has the better ground game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And based on the stats right now, sadly, I believe that to be Notre Dame. I
Mhm.
think they're the better ground team right now. Jeremiah Love leads the team with 339 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Cards right now are relying on their quarterback Tyler Shuck. That's actually how
Mhm.
you pronounce it, is Shuck.
Okay.
To power their offense, and I just don't know how much I trust a pass first offense in potential bad weather like
Yeah.
that. I feel like Notre Dame, if the forecast holds the way that it should,
Mhm.
or could, I think the Irish are the pick here at home.
Mhm.
I feel like they're just the more versatile team that's going to be able to handle the conditions well. Now, if we end up with a dry track, which is probably a slim chance,
Yeah.
Louisville's got the offense
Mhm.
to be able to outscore Notre Dame, and this game gets a lot more interesting. But based on what it looks like right now, this is going to be a ground and pound kind of game. Hammer
Yeah.
the under, but the Irish win at home.
Okay. Okay. The situation for Notre Dame is the same as it was for the Irish when they opened the season at Texas A&M. There is not really any margin for error.
Yeah.
They Notre Dame must win, needs games against ranked opponents, must win them because of the whole no conference, no chance for an automatic playoff bid. They have to earn their way in. So I mean, in a way, Louisville's ranking is a gift to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So yeah, they better not screw it up. How could they screw it up? This Louisville team does not score like Louisville teams of the past. But they're still close to 40 points a game. That is not insignificant. Um, I think Notre Dame's a little bit like Michigan so far. Again, the Purdue game maybe is an outlier. Riley Leonard doesn't seem comfortable throwing the ball, or the coaches aren't comfortable putting him in that position. He runs as well as any quarterback in the country almost, but if weather is a factor, and I think it will be, the team you want to go with the team that runs the football and plays good defense, and that's Notre Dame. If this was not if this was not going to be a weather game, I'd be really tempted to pick the Cardinals for this.
Hmm.
It just feels like the kind of game that recent Notre Dame teams wouldn't be able to handle. But I think because of the weather, especially, that's going to play into the hands of the Irish, and they will win this at home. Um,
Louisville has a history of winning these kinds of games too when it's
mhm. Yeah.
a good weather game.
Mhm.
The ACC, ask a lot of the teams in the ACC how Louisville has screwed up their seasons,
Right.
right? So I agree. I mean, if the track is dry,
Mhm.
um, this is a Cards win. I
Yeah.
really think that.
Yeah.
So if the forecast changes, um, check your local listings for this one.
Um, we get to the early evening slot, and I need more screens. We were talking about this before.
Yeah.
Ohio State plays on Peacock at 7. Um, at 7:30, we got this game on ABC. Number 2 Georgia at number 4 Alabama. Oh, by the way, we have this game. Georgia is favored by 2 on the road in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
The AJ Fun Index is a kind of ugly 48.5 point monstrosity. Uh, This is a tough one to figure out.
It is.
It's going to answer a lot of questions, but going into it, it's like, what do you got?
This is going to be a ground. This feels like it's going to be like a ground and pound kind of SEC kind of game,
Hmm.
right? Um, Particularly being under the lights, national spotlight, the whole
Hmm.
bit. So there's a lot of things to be intrigued about, but here's what most interests me about this game.
Hmm.
how does Kalen DeBoer handle this kind of pressure?
Yes.
He's been in these kinds of big time games before. I mean, heck, he played the national title game last year,
Mhm.
right? Like he led the team in the national title game, but he's never truly, having been at Washington, he's never truly been in a situation like this one
Right.
where he is expected to win.
Mhm.
This game is at night in Bryant-Denny. Game day's going to be there in the morning. These are games that Alabama wins, period, full stop.
Game day is going to be there with Nick Saban breathing down your neck, by
Yeah.
the way,
Right?
in case the game itself doesn't present enough pressure.
Right. And so when you look at the teams in this game, like entering the game, Bama's playing stronger offensively and putting up more points than Georgia
Mhm.
right now,
Mhm.
but arguably against inferior competition.
Yes.
Georgia has a stronger overall defense, including the conference's top passing defense, but Bama's right there
Mhm.
defensively. I mean, they're
Mhm.
pretty close to each other. Both teams coming off of a bye. It's just going to be a banger of a football game.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised either way,
Mhm.
right? Now, all that being said, I do think I'm giving the slight edge, very
Okay.
slight edge to Georgia here, simply because of Kirby Smart's experience in these kinds of games.
Mhm.
That, and I like the Georgia defense a lot. If they can rattle Jalen Milroe
Okay.
even just a little bit, I think Carson Beck can muster enough offense out of the Dogs to eke out a win in Bryant-Denny. But this is, a lot of times you get like, oh, it's a top 10 matchup. It's not going to be, whatever, this game is going to be really, really, really good.
Mhm.
It's going to get ugly. I actually expect a lot of punts in this
Mhm.
game because I think both teams are really good defensively. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I hesitate to pick Georgia here, but I feel like I have a little bit more confidence,
Okay.
in Georgia right now than I do in Alabama. Alabama got, you know, the crap scared out of them by USF, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And Georgia, I mean, well, but Georgia almost lost to Kentucky, but who's the better team? It's just,
It's a tough one.
give me Georgia, I
Okay.
think.
Get Georgia, I think. Um, I 100% know what I would pick if Nick Saban was still the head coach of Alabama.
Absolutely.
He would take this thing about Alabama being an underdog at home and just grind it into the brains of his players all week long.
Yep.
Um, Caleb DeBoer, I don't have any reason to doubt him. He's proven himself to be a good coach. He's clearly put together an excellent team this season. There doesn't seem to be yeah, they struggled against South Florida, but pulled away at the end of the game. There doesn't seem to be the kind of hangover I was wondering if would happen with Saban's departure. Um, but Nick Saban, well, he probably is walking through the door, but he's going to be up in his suite and watching the game after
Yeah.
he does all the ESPN stuff. Um, but he's not walking through the door of the locker room. I This is just an eye test thing. Georgia has played tougher opponents.
Hmm.
They have what are better wins. But they don't. There's a thing that's lacking, especially in their offense, that I can't figure out. I don't know if it's uh talent on the edges. Um, I don't. I mean, uh, uh, Carson Beck's numbers are okay. But this doesn't look like the same kind of terrifying Georgia team that we've seen the last few years. I think Alabama is uh, the competition isn't equal, but I think Alabama looks like a more complete team. I was not initially impressed with Jalen Milroe. I am now. His passing has gotten sharper. He clearly has uh, he clearly has the explosive talent on the edges that I think Georgia would like to have. This is going to be an amazing game.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna pick Alabama, uh, and mostly because they're at home. It's that equal, but I think Alabama just has the look of a slightly better team. And I think DeBoer will maybe mention the underdog thing once or twice
Yeah.
this week.
Well, and you make an interesting point there about Georgia.
Mhm.
Offensively, it's like you can tell that like Beck misses Brock Bowers,
Yes, yes.
right? And how critical of a piece he was in that Georgia offense. And now
Mhm.
that he doesn't have that go-to tight end, he doesn't really know who to go to.
Mhm.
And so yeah, you're right. That's what Georgia's offense is missing is another tight end.
Mhm.
So
And one that he's comfortable with. That's a great crutch for any quarterback.
yeah.
So the Penn State's offenses have been so good recently, because you guys keep finding these damn tight ends that are
His name is
so
Tyler Warren.
that are so good. Um, the same thing in Michigan. We mentioned that, with Loveland being out last weekend. Um, yeah, it is a definite crutch for quarterbacks, and if you've had one and then you don't have it, it's
Yeah.
like, what do I do?
Well, and it's interesting because then the Bama offense, like their scheme, they've never relied on the tight end,
They have not. No,
and
I could
so
not name a tight end from Alabama in the last 50 years.
no, yeah, that's the
So
difference.
I know the other game you're going to be watching at 7:30.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm going to be. This is. Yeah, I'm struggling as to how I'm going to manage this, because I don't really want to put any of these games on multi-box. Um, but because somewhere it's got to give. At 7:30 p.m. on NBC, Big Ten Saturday night, number 19 Illinois at number 9 Penn State. Your Nittany Lions are favored by 17.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a Big Ten 47.5 points.
Mhm.
What was the overtime game the last time Illinois went to Happy Valley?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Um,
miserable game.
that that was a stunner. Do the Illini have it in them this week?
Well, it's I up until last weekend, I would have said no. I wasn't all that worried
Right,
about this game, right? And
right.
now all of a sudden, Bert pulls a rabbit out of a hat and beats Nebraska, and it's like, oh shoot, we got to worry about this game now. So much so that as we were talking, prior to the show this week, and AJ pointed out a really fun fact about this. Immediately after the game,
Mhm.
James Franklin calls for an unofficial, I'm using air quotes, unofficial whiteout.
Uh-huh.
Whiteout energy was the exact phrase that he used.
I
And
like
that's
the
because
White House thing. That seems like a good way to do that.
yeah. Um, it's a weird rule that AJ pointed out to us that I
Yeah,
didn't even know.
I did not either.
That like it involves trademarks and hockey, the NHL, and all
Mhm.
kinds of fun stuff that like Penn State is only legally to have allowed to have one whiteout game because of the way that trademarks are operating. So, and that's already been scheduled. That's been on the
Mhm.
calendar since the beginning of the year. It's going to be November 9th against Washington, which now you're kind of wishing, well, maybe we shouldn't have
Yeah,
called
right.
it that early. Um, but when the Illinois game was announced for the NBC slot
Mhm.
at night, the call was made unofficially. Okay, so we got a fake whiteout happening. Snow squall,
White
maybe. I don't
thing.
know.
There's a white thing.
Yeah,
Do the
we're
white
all
thing.
gonna wear white shirts. There.
Out.
Um,
We're going to wear white shirts. Out.
out. Yeah, that's good. So the fact that again that Bert has Illinois doing Bert things has me all
Uh-huh.
kinds of nervous for this one. But this is a Penn State squad that again, I've mentioned this like every week this year.
Mhm.
This was the year. This was the year we all circled,
Mhm.
right? Should be performing at a top level, but they've just been super inconsistent.
Mhm.
Like the potential is there. They're just not stringing things together the way that we expected them to.
Okay.
Particularly on the defensive side of the ball, which is unexpected.
Mhm.
So despite some of these defensive struggles, the Knits offense is one of the top three in the conference in scoring,
Yeah.
just behind Ohio State. And do you know who number two is?
Uh, uh, would that be Oregon?
No.
No,
Are you ready for this? Are you
I am
sitting
ready.
down?
I'm sitting. It's Iowa.
It's Indiana.
It's Indi. Oh God, I forgot about Indiana. And former Ohio University Bobcat Curtis Rourke, who has them absolutely humming.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Indiana has the number two offense in the Big Ten right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
And so here's why I'm nervous about this one and why
Mhm.
I think the line here is absolute garbage.
Yes.
Illinois has the fourth best scoring defense in the Big Ten right now.
Mhm.
So, our compliment, Aller, Singleton, Allen, Tyler Warren, like they'd better be on their game
Yeah.
Saturday night in Beaver Stadium because that Illini defense is going to be legit.
Mhm.
However, I do believe that if the Penn State offense is able to overcome that defense, Penn State will win this game.
Mhm.
It's going to be way closer. That line is not, no, that line is garbage.
Not 17 and a half?
No,
Okay.
it's not gonna be 17 and a half. It
Okay.
might be 7. Okay.
Okay.
Like we might win
All
by
right.
a score. But Penn State should win this game. They're the
Mhm.
better team. It's just whether or not the defense decides to play because I don't think the Illinois offense was not prolific against
Mhm.
Nebraska because you didn't
No.
have to be. It's Nebraska, right?
Mhm.
And so if the Penn State offense can get rolling and force Illinois to try to have to keep up,
Mhm.
they're not going to be able to, and Penn State will win this game at home. But it's gonna be an uncomfortable Saturday night for me for sure.
Okay. Okay. Um, I would not expect this to go to 9 overtimes as it did.
Dear God, no.
Was that 3 years ago? Thereabouts?
Yeah, I
I
want to
don't
say it
remember.
was 2021.
Okay. That would have been a couple years ago. Um, I think it is going to be a good game. The line is kind of silly, although I don't think this is going to be as close as my Penn State friends might think. Y'all
It
have a
was
good
in fact
team?
2021.
21? Okay. Y'all have a good team. Guys, you guys have really, really good team. Um, Illinois, I absolutely again got to give Bert credit. Illinois is playing Bert Ball as best it can. That's a very good defense. The points it gave up against Nebraska, not last weekend, notwithstanding. They're giving up just 12 and a half a game, which is good for 15th in the country. Um, what they don't, what this version of Bert Ball does not have is a world-class tailback like he always seemed to have at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It does not have the offensive firepower that those Badgers teams always seem to have, to the annoyance of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew Aller is going to have a much better night than Dylan Raiola did. He's got more weapons. The Penn State's defense I think is better than Nebraska's. I didn't look up numbers, but I just again, as I've paid attention to this, I'm more aware of what Penn State has available to it. I think 17 and a half points is not happening. I could see 14. I could see 14. I think this is going to be a fun game for a while, and Penn State's going to pull ahead at the end. So hopefully it won't be too stressful for you. We'll see how it goes.
I hope so. I hope so.
If you needed a reason, and I know AJ had reasons to stay up and stuff about night games, but again, I haven't listened to the segment. I'm sure he mentioned this game. I'm certain he did at 10 p.m. On FS1, the Washington State Cougars, and we're kind of bullish on the Cougars this season. At number 25 Boise State, which you and I agree is in the top 25 of group of, or top 5 of a group of 5 teams. Boise's favored by 7 on the blue turf. The AJ Fun Index is a truly fun 64 and a half points.
Yes.
So if you're looking for a reason to stay up, that alone should be enough. But Carla, what do you think is going to happen here?
Unfortunately, I hate to break it to everybody that although AJ probably already did this, the After Dark slate this week is just absolutely bonkers.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is going to be a caffeinate weekend. Sorry, y'all. Because pair this game with Arizona, Utah, and Oregon, UCLA.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun after 10 p.m. Eastern.
Big 10 after dark.
Big 10 after dark and Big 12 after dark. Here we go.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so to the game at hand. Wazoo's John Mateer is like he does everything. He and as much as we have said in the past about how you'd never want your quarterback to be your team's leading rusher, like it's working for them.
It is.
And
It
it's
is.
absolutely working. And I can't explain it.
Hmm.
It's just like we finally found the dual threat quarterback that actually works.
Hmm.
Um, and they knocked off Washington in the Apple Cup, and they won an absolutely insane game over San Jose State in double overtime last
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
And so now the Cougars head over to the Smurf turf to play a Boise team that nearly knocked off Oregon and has been averaging nearly 50 points per game this season.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, this game's gonna get real stupid real fast. Neither of these teams play great defense.
Hmm.
That's fun too.
Yeah.
But if you dig into the numbers, okay, this is something that you don't want to see.
Okay.
Wazoo, out of 134 teams in
Hmm.
FBS,
Hmm.
you want to take a stab as to where they rank in total defense?
Let's. Is it a three-digit number?
It is a three-digit number.
Oh man. 115.
Close, 128th.
120. Yeah, okay.
So there's only
Um,
6 teams that are worse than they are in defense in the
oof,
entire FBS, right?
just go score a lot.
That's not great. Now Boise,
No.
meanwhile, also doesn't play great defense,
Uh-huh.
but they're in the middle of the pack in the nation in run defense.
Okay.
They hover somewhere around 60th in
Hmm.
the country in run defense. So this game very easily gets pointsy. We knew
Hmm.
that. The
Yes.
fun index tells us that.
Yes.
But if you have a little bit of an iota of a rush defense, and Boise does,
Hmm.
that's going to help make Mateer one-dimensional
I will. Yes.
because you're going to
Good
be
point.
able to kind of corral him and make him and force him to stay in the pocket, or you're going to force him to run for his life as
Hmm.
opposed to trying to scramble. And I think that ends up being the difference here. I
That
think that
is. Yeah.
that iota of a run defense is going to contain Mateer, and the Broncos are going to get the win at home. But man, caffeinate, get a try box going. Like it's going to be a stupid fun game. But I'm gonna take Boise at home.
You could also set your DBR.
You could do that.
I would not fault you for that if you because it's as we said, it starts at 10 o'clock. Um
Hang with me, stay up until halftime. That's what I do. Is I stay up and watch the first half of the game, and as soon as we hit the
possible,
half, I go to bed.
possible. Um maybe like the 3:30 slate isn't. Well, no, they got that Notre Dame game. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I have an
Um
advantage though because I'm in Central Time. So for me, all those games kick at 9.
true.
So
True. Hmm. Okay. Whatever the case.
come to
Whatever you
God's
do.
time zone. Central Time is God's time zone
Okay.
because we get all the early stuff. It's not
Yeah.
all that early, and like it's a beautiful thing.
Okay. Okay. Um, the bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen, is this game is going to be a lot of fun. Um, it is still not good in the technical sense that John Mateer is his team's leading rusher. That is an official thing of the Carla and Crappy show. I don't care. He's crazy to watch. Um, Carla, you do make a good point about the distinction between planned rushes or scrambles versus running for your life.
Yeah.
The first two can be productive. The latter third 3-1 is not a good thing, and it rarely turns out well. So we've got this quarterback, solid offense, a lot of points. Put that up against Boise, that's scoring, as you said, nearly 50 a game. What's going to happen? This is this is a total bandwagon pick. And your points about Boise playing just a little bit, just a teeny bit of defense, should make a difference here. I'm on the Mateer bandwagon. I'm saying that right now. And he is going to lead the Cougars to a win on the Smurf turf in Albertson Stadium. There you go.
There you go.
Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a variety of other high-quality podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube or on the show's Facebook page. You may recall from a year ago or from last week when I read this same exact paragraph. You can read us on our Substack. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If not, mind your own damn business. Be sure to come back next week when we will discuss, among other things, how wrong we were Um, are there more games we need to talk about? I feel like there are.
There's so many. Okay, let me see if I can what I can rattle off here real
Yeah.
quick. So let's do my fandoms other than Penn State.
Mhm.
So MTSU goes to Memphis this
Right.
week on the road at Memphis, 7:30 Eastern. That game's on ESPNU. So yes,
Mhm.
add another window to your primetime box
Uh, 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 okay.
to be able to watch that middle game. And also the funny thing here is that there is still a possibility it could still be raining in Memphis at this point, which would
Mhm.
mean the fourth consecutive week that Middle has been impacted by rain. However, if Middle is able to pull off this win, and they are a significant underdog in this game, but if they
Mhm.
are able to pull off this win, they have a chance to make that transitive property that we talked about at the top of the show even dumber.
Okay.
Because then you would have Middle over Memphis over Florida State, and that would just
Mhm.
be beautiful. At this point, like I'm just hoping to see a little bit of life out of the Blue Raiders this weekend. They got
Yeah.
demolished by Duke at home.
Mhm.
They really haven't looked as sharp as they've needed to the last couple of weeks, and we really just need a good outing from the Blue Raiders this weekend. So that's what I'm
Yes.
looking for here. Once we get past this week, we get into Conference USA play, and it looks like
Mhm.
it's going to get the road will get a little bit easier, and we can work on getting that 6 wins
Okay.
to get to a bowl game. But that starts next week.
Get you back to the Bahamas Bowl.
Yeah, or somewhere,
Yeah.
anywhere. I'd take
Yeah.
anywhere at this point. Bobby, the aforementioned Bobby Mo Colonials, they are
Mhm.
on the road at Eastern Kentucky. And here's a fun fact: if you have ESPN Plus, you can watch this game. It is at 2
Yay.
Eastern on ESPN Plus.
Nice.
So Bobby Mo looking for a win. This is not a conference game.
Mhm.
Um, ready
Yes.
for something real silly?
Yes, please.
Number 21 Oklahoma goes to Auburn.
Mhm. I have this on my list of dumb games that I'm going to pay attention to. It was one of
Yeah.
the things I was going to mention. Um, I know we're pointing towards still the Vandy Auburn game,
Yes.
but I'm wondering if Hugh Freeze is going to last that long.
That's a good question. Because we're definitely looking at a sub 500 Auburn by the end of this weekend.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, that's going to get real interesting real fast. So pay attention to that one. That game's in the 3:30 window, so we don't need another screen in prime time. So that's good.
Right.
But also at 3:30, this is another game just to kind of, maybe score watch and
Hmm.
flip over if you need to.
Hmm.
Wisconsin at USC.
Yeah.
Seems interesting. I can't say that it's one that I'm like gonna like sit down and watch the game in its entirety, but you have the top passing offense in the conference. Wisconsin's capable of playing good defense, but they're
Yes.
just not they don't have the statistics that we're used to seeing out of a Badger defense.
Right. Right.
And also Bucky enters after getting absolutely demolished at home 2 weeks ago by Bama and Big Nude.
Ooh.
So this is a tough ask for
Yes.
Bucky on the road, but it could be interesting maybe.
Hmm.
And my final little note here, there are a lot of really stupid high fun indexes this week.
Yes.
Do you know what the highest fun index is?
I did not look this week.
It is 68.5, and it
Okay.
belongs to Tulsa at North Texas.
Oh, there's the Tulsa reference.
There's the Tulsa reference. Tulsa at North Texas. That game's again in prime time. So
Uh-huh.
find another window. Tulsa at North Texas, 7 Eastern, ESPN Plus. So that game is nationally televised if you have an ESPN Plus subscription. So there is the potential for so much stupid this weekend between the weather and the matchups. And I can't wait. Just don't let there be any stupid in Beaver Stadium, please.
I think I'm gonna need to like go to Target or someplace with a lot of TVs and just bring a chair. They've got snacks. The 7 o'clock window is
Buffalo Wild Wings, something like that.
yeah,
Like just go,
that could be. That could be.
Sports bar with lots of TVs.
I've seen social media stuff on threads recently. People talking about the old Damon's restaurant. Did you?
Yes.
Was that here? Where you
Yep.
have the lounge and just the big wall of TVs.
Yep.
That would work.
That would work.
That would be okay. The 7 o'clock window is just nuts, guys, and that's when Ohio State opens its Big Ten play at Michigan State, probably in the rain. So I'm liking Ohio State's running game,
Yep.
solid defense in that one. OU should rebound from its debacle in Kentucky. They are hosting the Akron Zips in Athens for the MAC opener. You mentioned Oklahoma and Auburn as one that I will pay attention to. The other one I'm going to pay attention to is Florida State at SMU.
Yes.
And I don't recall what time of day that game is. I don't have it here in front of me.
Look it up.
We've talked about Florida State's problems to death. They won. They won last weekend. Not a big win by any stretch, but they finally got off the schneid. SMU,
Oh no.
huh?
You're gonna take a stab as what time that game is?
What is it? It's 7 o'clock.
8 o'clock
8
Eastern,
o'clock. Okay,
ACC
that's good.
Network.
That's good. Um, Crap. The SMU. Who did SMU play last weekend? Because I watched a bit of that.
TCU.
TCU.
It was the
Yes.
Skillet game. Yep.
Yes, that's right. That's right. The Skillet game, the World Championship of the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. They buried. Oof.
They did.
Again, it's not the running offense, the kind of rushing offense that has given Florida State trouble, but just so prolific. This is a game. This is a G5 team that the Seminoles could very easily could lose to.
It's not a G5 team.
Oh, that's right.
This is a conference game.
You're right. You're right.
Everything is weird. SMU's in the ACC.
SMU's in the ACC because that makes sense. And my point. SMU, really good offense.
Yeah.
Florida State,
Not so much.
iffy defense. Points for the ponies. And and I need to go buy like 3 iPads.
Because I mentioned top of show, Stanford Clemson.
Mhm.
It's in the 7 o'clock window too. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have Ohio State on one TV and Quad Box on the other, and we'll see what we can do.
And we'll see where we go from there. Yeah.
That's gonna be the best. Guys, if the takeaway for this show is this weekend is going to be fantastic. There are good games on Thursday and Friday. We have thoroughly documented the 7 o'clock window on Saturday.
And then some.
And then some. Get as many screens as you can get a hold of, and park yourself in front of them, especially in the evening on Saturday. It's going to be a blast.
Stupid with a chance of rain.
Yeah. Carla, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
AJ, thank you as always.
Yes.
Really, the video is a nice touch. And boys and girls, we appreciate you watching, listening, reading, all of the things. Enjoy the games this weekend, guys, and we will see you back here next week. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Come back here next week for the 2-hour recap on the Carla and Krabby Show.